Welcome to Girls Talk, a candid conversation. On today's conversation, we'll be talking about, dang, I'm 30 plus, now what?
Wow.
30 is definitely a big marker in everyone's years, especially when you go over that hump. It's like everything changes. So kind of want to open up this conversation to the ladies to kind of see, once you kind of went over that marker of 30 plus, were there anything that you decided you needed to change or things you changed in your life?
For the record, I'm not over 30. I'm just here for the alcohol.
Okay.
But kidding me.
Oh God.
Lee?
Start with me?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think there was anything that I felt like I needed to change, other than coloring my hair because the grays are getting out of control.
Let's fix lower right here.
But this is your future.
No. Beautiful blonde.
That's a good future.
That's our future, beautiful blonde.
Yes.
This is my original. That's the future.
Yes, it's a lot. But I think that as we age, we tend to grow and we mature and we develop just as people. Mm-hmm. And so turning 30 didn't automatically change that for me. It's just kind of been a progression. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Okay, so I've got 2 minutes to keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. Like, after I hit 30, I didn't think about that. Then I hit 35. And I was like, okay, crap. I'm about to be 40. Okay. And as I was traveling along, find out that I've got hormone problems. Mm-hmm. What? So now I think that's a really big thing for me as a woman over a certain age, and it's just going to be a certain age at this point. Like, the hormone part just really shook me because I never thought that much would change that fast, but it did. And to the point where, testosterone said bye-bye to you. He was like, I'm out of here. I'm going somewhere else. And, as a woman over 30-ish, when testosterone says bye-bye, it's kind of like, what else is going to say bye-bye, okay? So that was a real deal. And I think that's something that we want to have a discussion about because that's big. Hormones and women over a certain age, it changes our game completely.
Absolutely. Not only just hormones, talk about expectations.
Mine is hormones.
Okay, hormones for her.
Hormones.
All right, what about you?
Wow. Okay, so I'm like 30, y'all. I'm talking about like 25. Like 25, you wake up the next day and you have a whole new set of aches and pains and headaches. And I have 4 kids. Okay, my headaches started early in life. No, but I will say, I just turned 34. I will say that I've noticed a lot of other things. I mean, I've been coloring my hair for forever, but I feel like my WTF lines that have come across my forehead are a little more visible at this age. Hormones, that's something I've dealt with for forever. I went into early menopause when I was 22. Wow. It runs in my family. That's actually how I got pregnant with my first child, is because they were trying to correct my hormones, and within 6 months, I was pregnant. And I was like, hold on. I did not correct my hormones for these. I mean, I love her, and I would not give her back, but that is not what I corrected my hormones for. Wow. But, yeah, no, to me, Yeah, lots of new changes. I have a regimen now, like, you know, your facial moisturizers and your things. And those are things I didn't worry about in my 20s. Like, I wasn't worried about, did I take my makeup off before I went to bed? And now it's like, girl, get that off your face. It's going to dry out your skin overnight. And, you know, moisturizer on your feet. You know, growing up, you're always looking at your mom's feet or your grandma's feet and you're like, man, y'all need some lotion. I never look like that. You know what I mean, though? Y'all know I'm right because you know you did.
Well, my mom and my grandma had pretty feet. I always wanted feet like them. I'm just saying, you know, I like pretty soft feet.
Yeah.
This conversation is going in the wrong direction. No fetishes.
You know, it's drier. The older you get.
Can we circle back to expectations after certain age? Monique, what were you
you're
saying?
next, honey.
I'm going to bring it back.
She's going to reel it all
Oh,
in.
you're the moderator. Okay. Yes. So my expectations go beyond the physical. Being over 30. Once I hit 30, my mindset changed. Okay. You know, I am 40. Well, I will be 43 in 2 weeks, actually. Happy birthday, Monique.
Yes.
So my expectation changed mentally. Like, I changed like how I thought, how I moved, what I want out of life just in general. Because sometimes I think it goes beyond the physical. The older you get, the more you're supposed to mature if you've healed properly and moved past certain hurts and things that you've gone through in your life. The older you get, the more your mindset changes. So for me, turning 30, I had my second child at 30. So my mindset changed completely from when I was in my 30s, and even moving towards my 40s, even more so now. So the way I thought at 30 is now completely different. The way I moved at 30, I moved completely differently at 40, even as far as like expectations from friends, family members, you said what? WTF, WTH lines or whatever. So like even what I expect from others has changed the older I get. So I think it sometimes goes beyond physical, you know.
Well, that's great. I mean, like, it's interesting to see how we can take this topic both seriously and then just make light of it and go in various directions. And, you know, because I think once you get to 30, you officially cannot tell anybody I'm a late bloomer. Okay? Like, you know, you can, while you're in your 20s, you can still tell, you know, you can still kind of slide it in. But so for me personally, when I was terrified turning 30. I was mortified because of the very reason, because by some reason I thought 30 was the marker of getting old. Forget about that I started to turn gray at 19. Yes. It's genetic. I mean, you can't beat the genetics. But, you know, forget about, you know, it's like there was this pressure of, I probably can't like rely on my parents anymore, even like for advice, because if I maybe go for the, you know, ask for something, say, aren't you old enough to know that yourself, you know, so, but then 30 happened and nothing happened. I was still the same person. So for me turning 40, I didn't care. And, you know, nothing happened. I just continued to go. I looked the same. I felt the same. But turning 50.
Because I was going to say, let's talk about really how old.
Yes. So turning 50 was terrifying. And I didn't want to turn 50. And now I'm telling everybody, yes, I'm over 50.
That's right. That's it. That's all.
Yes, that's it. Nothing happens. But you start looking at life in retrospect with very different set of eyes and thinking, because when you look in the mirror, you still see the same person in front of you, but now you have a whole bunch of baggage, good and bad. You have great experiences, you have bad experience, and so you have your brain. Your brain that have been through things, it's experienced, it's raised kids, it's gone through some horrible things, it's had achieved certain things, but your body is still there, and you look at yourself in the morning. I mean, I do this every day and say, when I was 19, if I had this brain and that body of when I was 19, gosh, how far could I have gone?
Absolutely.
Where would I have been right now?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Well, testosterone would still be with you.
It's there. It can, different. Go ahead.
Well, I know for me, like once I hit 30, I'm 34 now, but 30 wasn't that big of a deal. I'm like, yeah, you're getting older. I think my the major change for me when I got into my 30s was the mindset, like making sure I'm really working on me. Like, how do I feed myself and work on those issues that, like, maybe at 20 you weren't realizing there were issues. You're like, ooh, free world, let's do this. And you get 30, you're like, okay, maybe, moving into mature life, real adulthood. And then you're like, all right, so I need to figure some things out. And then you have people like, oh, when are you going to get married? Are you going to have kids? I'm like, what? Excuse me? And then you think about it like, oh my God, I am getting older. Oh, I might need to start thinking about this for real. Like, is this something I need to do? And then it's like all these questions, they start to arise. But outside of that, how do you move into building a life when there are certain traumas and things that maybe you haven't dealt with? Like, that's something that I'm like, okay, this is something I need to work on personally, because I can't go into something and build if I'm not making sure that I myself is taken care of first. Exactly. So I think that was like my biggest thing, that as I'm in my 30s and moving through it, I'm working through and making sure that I'm the better version of me. And
very good
point.
So let me ask you then, I have a question for the group here. Well, I'm going to start with Lee, just because you sit in the corner there. We're just going to go around the room. Did you feel certain pressure when you reach, let's say, 30, 35 age? Did you feel like pressure increased in your life to live up to everyone's expectation? Were people putting pressure on you?
No. I felt that pressure early on. I got married really young. I got married at 19 and started having kids when I was 25. And I have 4 kids. I had my last child when I was 35. And so for 10 years, it was all family, just all about the children, all about my husband. And then I think when I hit about 36, 37 is when my focus changed a little bit from them to me. And I went back to work. And I started realizing I can't keep giving to my family, which I want to desperately, but I can't keep giving to them if I have nothing left to give. So that's what changed for me. And I started looking at my expectations rather than everybody else's.
What about Monique?
Ooh,
same question.
I was expecting to hear from Carrie next.
I changed my mind.
Okay, restate the question.
There you go.
When you came to this 30-35 marker, did you feel like you were pressured to fulfill certain expectations in your life, like other people's expectations?
No. No. I was not pressured to. I also got married really young and started having a family. That was, I was 23 when I got married and had my first child. So the expectation to raise a family and all of that, I had already done that, just kind of like Lee. So the expectation was for myself. I wanted to, like she said, when you have a family, when you get married so young, you put yourself on the back burner. So the expectation was more so on myself. How can I better Monique? What can I do to start pouring into myself? Because I'm pouring into everyone else. So even the expectation outside of your family, like work, for me, I owned my first business when I was 26 years old. So I did a lot of things early in life, whereas people kind of take their time and go like, it was like, go for it. You have the husband, you have the kids, you've run a couple of businesses. So what is it now that you can do for yourself to help you. There's no outside expectations. For me, all the expectations I had were within.
So you started putting
personal.
pressure on yourself.
I started putting pressure on myself. Yeah. I started putting pressure on myself to focus on what it is that Monique wanted to accomplish in her life. I went back to school, you know, I started focusing on myself. So the expectation was more inward and less like outward.
Okay. What about Kareem?
Oh gosh, I mean, mine is a little bit different than both Lee's and Monique's, which, funnily enough, in my 30s, so I got way too many degrees because student loans are B. That's how I know I got way too many. And I did those in a stretch, right? So like, I hit college straight at the traditional age of 21. And I breezed through undergrad in 3 years and went to grad school 1 and grad school 2. So my 30s were really focused on building me. And that was really as a result of nurture, parents, expectations of parents. And I was on this very like, you know, big hamster wheel of you have to accomplish these things for parents, not for self. And then I hit 30 something and go, oh crap, I'm 35. I don't have kids. I've never really been in a full-fledged relationship. I don't have any notches under my belt. It's like this other side of your personal life doesn't exist. So now you start going, oh crap. Do I need to freeze my eggs? Do I need to go find the next person who says, I love you, and be like, listen, let's get married, let's run off, let's build a family, let's get the white picket fence, let's do it now, let's do all of those things. And I think that coincidentally at 36, I went into the biggest relationship of my life, which turned out to be the relationship that caused me, I think, the greatest pain because you place so many expectations on it and not the right expectations, the expectations that were built from the expectation that you had of society and where you should be that you shouldn't have even considered because your entire life you were on somebody else's time clock, somebody else's expectation list, somebody else's goal list. And so at 36, 35, I was like on a clock. I was on a clock. And literally at 36, I was in this relationship. After 8 months of dating, we were moved in together. And there was a little kid involved. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, I get to get the little baby. And I'm going to build this family. And I'm going to have these things. And instead of looking at what I actually had in my mind, all I was doing was projecting about what I felt like I needed because I gave up so much of that, living somebody else's goals and dreams for me. And I had to overcompensate to fix that. Mm-hmm. So my story is a little bit different because now, out of that relationship 6 years later, and don't do the math on a sister's age. Okay? Let's just leave it at that.
No one's counting.
Don't count. It's a whole different story because now time matters even much more. Mm-hmm. Because what I am having to do now is to go back. And even though you look at, oh my gosh, I've accomplished all these things, the accomplishments don't matter when they weren't really your goals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now it's like I am starting to play catch up on a life that I should have lived based on me and what I want, and time is running away from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely, there is so much more that we can, this should be a deep dive. And for every single, and I don't think you're an exception. Right. No. You're more of a rule because as there is a huge chunk of female population that just goes into this career path and then finds themselves right between 35 and 40 going, what do I do now? And so this probably very typical. And then I don't want to, because Kim still haven't, but answer the same question.
Well, so my life, I'm on husband number 2 and last. He's stuck with me.
Till death really literally do us.
Oh yeah, to us. Yes, absolutely. He is absolutely stuck with me. I married at a very young age. And that first marriage created a lot of trauma. So getting out of that marriage, I did not want to get married again for a very long time. And it took me quite a while to get married again, but we were whirlwind. I mean, we were engaged in less than 3 months. We were then pregnant, and then we ran off to the JP because I wasn't having another big wedding. I'd gone through the big wedding. I'd met all the expectations my parents had put on me. You know, I did this beautiful big wedding that all their friends could come to and everybody from church could come to. And, you know, I did the society norm. So when my husband and I got married, we were just like, no, we're going to break all the rules. We're going to do it our way. It's going to be about us. And that's how we're going to do things. And so, you know, we ran into this marriage head first. And so when I got into my 30s, it really slammed into me that so much of my 20s, where I'm sitting here watching all of my childhood friends, you know, they're off partying, living life, going to school, you know, they don't have kids at home. They're not, you know, PTA mom or soccer mom or all these things. And here I was, you know, neck deep in some real life things. Okay. And so here I am, and it's like I've had all these epiphanies in the last few years in my 30s of, oh my gosh, I've given so much of myself to everybody else and living up to everybody else's wants or needs. And I am a yes man. Like, I hate telling people no and putting in boundaries. And I always want to help everybody else. And I go and I help everybody else, even at the cost of my own sanity. I'm still giving. And in the last few years and being into my 30s, it's like this alarm bell has just gone off that, oh my gosh, I've got to take care of me. Yeah. I've got to start doing things for me. And it also made me realize that I had so many heavy expectations on other people in my life to contribute to my happiness and to help me be who I needed to be during the day. And in the last year or two, I've really realized, oh my gosh, I have to stop and I have to find myself. Yeah. And I have to learn how to make myself happy. And I have to be able to build myself up, because I can't feed off of other people's energy and expect them to hold me up when I can't hold myself up. Yeah. And that really hit me in my 30s. Being able to step back and say, oh my gosh, I've got to figure out how to be me and love me and do this for me. That was a huge thing. You know, the fear of, oh my gosh, I am getting older hits, you know, like I haven't wasted this time because I cherish it. But it feels that way sometimes. Like I should have spent more time earlier on to find myself than waited so long.
Can I piggyback off something that she said? Someone told me this the other day. No is a full sentence.
Yes.
No is a full sentence. A paragraph and a book. It can be.
That's right.
And the older I get, the more I start to realize that, based on what you said, like prioritizing yourself, and sometimes saying no is the best way to do that. I just wanted to kind of
I want to just take all of this so we can basically summarize that, you know, there's 6 of us here, right?
Yes.
7. And 7.
No,
there is 6.
I was like,
there is 6.
She's playing with your mind.
Yes, I can count. But anyway, but even though, and there is difference in age, difference in background, different in marital status, but there is one common thread. There is one common thread that when I hit that age, I started putting pressure on myself, on really figure out who I am and how to keep myself from losing myself, how to, where I am in life, where I'm going with this, and where will it go from now. That's what I hear as a common thread through all of everybody who's sitting on these couches right now.
So, and I'll ask this for everybody, right? So in thinking about, okay, we've all talked about kind of over 30, now what, right? But the idea is that you've had to incorporate or dig up or utilize some level of whether it's habits or newfound, mechanisms or rituals or routines that you put in place. How do you, because I find that that's something that fuels me more and more each day. How do I incorporate and what do I incorporate to make sure that I'm good? You know, like as I'm self-searching as a 30-something-year-old, or as I'm self-searching as a mom or a wife or whatever that is, what am I doing in me to make sure that I am still good and that vibrates to everybody else?
Well, but that's part of finding your authenticity, I think. And that's why probably when we, after 30 and around 35, and it comes different for everybody, but that's when you start asking questions as, okay, I did all my education. I made mom and dad happy. I can relate to that. Like I did one for mom, I did one for dad. Okay, that's it. Who am I? I got married early, you know, I had my kids. Kids are growing up, now what? You know, in my case, I mean, I was very similar with Kari. I was a professional student for the biggest part of my life because I was tall, and those college loans are, they're a boss. You know, and they haunt you for a really long time. But, you know, and around that age, I learned that I'm done with school because it's a treadmill. Because you go and you just got another thing to hang on the wall, and but you still kind of square A. So that was for me the age where I basically around 35, I said, you know what, I'm just done with school. No matter what happens, I'm just gonna just take what I have and make something out of it. And if it's and I just started throwing things on the wall, and not all of them stuck, but the ones that are stuck, you know, we made them better. You know, and you know, you just have to go with it sometimes. But I think this is really when you start finding out who you really are, you starting to set boundaries.
But do you know what I take away from all of this? This is when we all figured out that being unbalanced is normal. Okay. This is where it hits, is our 30s. This is when we figured out that being an unbalanced person is normal. And to stop living up to everybody else's expectations on us.
For me, that means setting boundaries.
Okay, and what does that mean for you and for you? Like, besides setting boundaries? Like, because boundaries is not that easy to set.
No. Well, that's what, it was the hardest thing in my personal life was to learn how to say no.
Yes.
I couldn't do it. I didn't want to hurt people.
There you go.
And I found myself constantly in situations that I got myself in that I couldn't get out of because I couldn't say no.
Yep.
So that was very difficult, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
It's really about being intentional. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
I like that.
hitting 30 or over 30 plus is like figuring out, how do I intentionally move through my life? What are the things I put in place to make me happy or to meet the needs and things that I set out for myself?
Yes.
Like whether it's the setting the boundaries, maybe having a healthier eating lifestyle, whether it's incorporating routines, whether it's like I'm going to the gym so I can let out any sort of stress and anger I might have because of things that are happening in my life.
Yeah.
That's what you do. But it's you figuring out what are the things that make you happy, that allows you to be intentional and be you to the fullest. And so that's really what it comes down to. Like, I think 20s, we play around and we're like, all right, we live in life. Let's do what we want to do. And it's okay, like whether it's we're meeting expectations of others or families and so forth, we go through it because we're like, okay, yes, I'm going to either be the good child with good this, or maybe I'm just going to rebel against the world. And you just do it because, you know, that's what you want to do. And then you're like, okay, now what's next? Because as you get older, you have to figure out what's next. And you start thinking about that. And you start, whether it's you're getting more enlightened by what you're reading, what you're fueling your brain with, and like listening and seeing things, and you're like, maybe I want that too.
Yeah.
Then how do I get there?
Yeah.
And so that's that thing about being intentional and kind of figuring out, okay, what's next and how do we move forward?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just going to, you know, there is this thing is that you always attract what you project.
Absolutely.
So being, you know, I think it takes to get to a certain age where you're starting to sort through what's happened in your life, and you can say, I don't want that, but I want more of that. And when you start to open yourself up to inviting these things into your life, they come.
Yes.
And they come usually as opportunities, and you can either be blind to them or you can take them. And yeah, so it's, I don't think it's a crazy concept of, if we remain in a negative state of mind, if we keep attracting negative things to us, and then we keep asking, why me? Why it keeps happening to me, and more of the stuff just keeps coming. So I think that maybe like this age over 30 is an age of self-awareness, where we're not truly no longer a child, and we're and we have that identity. Sometimes we need to, and we start finding it back. Yes,
absolutely. Whether you're saying, I want to fuel my brain, because at the end of the day, knowledge does allow you to grow. It allows you to be the best version of you, whether you're reading on philosophy, health, all those things. So talk to me about, maybe Kim, talk to me a little bit about, have you put any of those things in place to kind of,
Absolutely, because I think, the saying, if use it or you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's so true. Like, even after having kids, I feel like you have mom brain fog anyways. But that really hit me getting into my 30s as well. Oh my gosh, there are things that I used to know and I could just spit off of my tongue like that. And now it's like, I'm really reaching at straws, trying to grasp the knowledge back that I knew I had. So I love to read books and, self-motivating books, meditating books, those type of things. But I also love a good romance novel just to get me in a different kind of mood as well. Just things that make my brain have to work and think about what I'm reading. And so I do that a lot to help me now at this age too.
All right. And what about you, Lee?
The one thing I would really love to be able to do better is sleep better. and it's not, I mean, your homegirl's tired. But I've always been a crap sleeper. My parents were bad sleepers, and I think my father and I developed really bad sleep habits. When I was younger, we used to both wake up in the middle of the night, and it became like something that I loved doing with him, getting up and having a midnight snack, and it was like father-daughter time, and it was so sweet, but it has royally screwed me. And because now I wake up in the middle of the night every night, and I can't sleep through the night, and sleep is vital, especially now. So I think having better sleep hygiene is very important.
How do you even do that? How do you have better sleep hygiene?
How do you retrain your brain?
Yeah.
So no TV, no screens, no music, just stuff that is really, really boring.
Tech free.
Yes, tech free. If you're going to read a book, black and white, something really boring, something that's not going to turn your brain on, that you're not necessarily going to find interesting, but that's going to help your brain shut down.
Yeah. I like that.
Another one thing that I know I've done for ensuring that I get sleep, because even if you sleep, you need to get to REM sleep to really get to refuel, right? So I know I'm not promoting drugs or anything. It is natural. Melatonin is my best friend.
Absolutely.
I take it to make sure that I actually get the well-needed rest, because you need it to fuel yourself for the next day.
I wish that wakes me up.
Well, it's funny that you even mentioned melatonin, right? Because one of the things that I think that we haven't really touched on, is once you get to a certain age, 35 and over, your hormones, every doctor will tell you, your hormones are completely going in a whole different direction. And there's certain hormones that are really critical to you ensuring your vitality and your functioning. One, getting sleep and being able to, have the energy to physically go through the day. Like, I found that, I felt like I was always tired and, brain fog, and you gain weight and you're like, but I didn't eat all that much, right? Or I didn't go to, the fried chicken place and got a chicken. So you're like, what's going on? And one of the things that I had to do as I was thinking about self-care and pouring back into me was, listen, I need to go to the doctor. Okay, because I need to go to the doctor, and listen, doctor, who happens to be a woman doctor, who absolutely goes, I'm surprised you didn't ask for this sooner, but let's run a whole panel. Let's do a full panel on you so we can understand what's going on with your body. And I think that, mindset is great. Sleep is definitely essential. And boundaries are great, but if you don't even know what's going on with your body, all of these things are going to be out of whack. And in doing my wellness panel, I found that I was severely anemic. AKA, I'm walking around tired as hell all day. Yeah. And again, testosterone ran and left, which means I'm tired, brain fog, I feel crappy, I'm unmotivated. You feel like you're in this abyss most days. And when you get to that age, it's important that you look at yourself and not only do the things externally, but you'll get yourself checked up.
On that, at 30, I just started having just weird pains and that were like, wow, why am I experiencing this? So I went to the doctor and she's like, oh, it sounds like you may have an ovarian cyst. And sure enough, I had an ovarian cyst. Oh, wow. And when they went in to remove the cyst, now this is something that I've had all my life and did not know, endometriosis.
Oh, wow.
So when they went in to remove the cyst, then they realized, oh, you have stage 4 endometriosis. There are only 4 stages to endometriosis. So you could literally be walking around and like everything, like your hormones, like why is my body reacting this way? Why am I gaining weight and I don't eat? Yes. Like, you know, even though I love to eat, I'm just saying like why is this happening to my body? Why am I having these pains that I've been ignoring all my life and just like put it to the side? So you're right. Like you need to go and have a wellness check just to make sure, because some things that we deal with, we don't have to, they can be corrected. We just passed them off as being normal. I've always had this. You know, so the older you get, it is important to figure out what's going on inside of your body.
I think we create stigmas in our brain. Like we don't have time to take care of ourselves. Yes. We're so busy taking care of everybody else. But like at the same time, like I've watched my mom never go to the doctor, never take care of herself. And she just deals with it and she keeps going. And she doesn't complain. She doesn't sit down and cry about it. She just keeps pushing herself to keep going. And I find that I myself do the same thing. But I waited for forever. PCOS. You had struggles my whole life, but I never wanted to go to the female doctor and figure out what was wrong.
Female issues are so prevalent. Yes. And we don't know that we are running around with these things that are going on in our bodies. Yes. You know, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis.
Serious.
You know, like low testosterone, like
no iron.
Yeah, no iron. And we just pass it off as just being normal. And if anything I would like for you guys to take away from this is prioritize yourself and get a health physical. Yes. Like go beyond, like, and honestly be honest with your doctor, because that's one thing that we as women, how are you feeling? Oh, doctor, I'm great. You know, but then the whole time you're sitting up there like, damn. This is happening. This is happening with me. This is happening with me.
But then the doctor looking at you like you're crazy. Is there anything not right with you? Like, what did you guys complain about today, man?
Honestly, I sat down with my OB. I was like, girl, let me tell you, this is happening. This is happening. I need this to be happening a little bit more.
That's right.
Because like going to karma kind.
Yeah, that's right. And I need for you to fix this directly, because as you get older, like we're gonna have to talk about this on another segment.
Yes.
Like sexually, there are things that occur that you need to get a OBGYN checkup to make sure that everything stays lubricated and running
and moist.
That's lubricated.
Well, and you also can't be afraid to go to the doctor.
Exactly.
I have a number of people in my family who won't go to the doctor because they are afraid of what they're going to hear.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, our
ignorance is bliss.
Yes. And we live in the best city in the world for health issues.
Yeah, we do.
So, and we live in a time where medical advances are amazing. Yeah. So don't be afraid of what you're going to hear. Take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally.
That's right.
And then once you do that, then you have more to give to
That's
the
right.
That's
right.
Basically, be your best self.
That's right. That's right.
Well, so basically, when we get to our early to mid 30s, this is our time to own ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To, our health, our mental state, our physical well-being, all of this is a time to really check that warranty that you came out with at birth. Make sure that you might have to renew it, tune it up.
Update it.
Change some parts, lubricate. Buy new warranty, whatever works for you. But on a serious note, in your 30s, you truly are becoming who you're meant to be, and you're going to find yourself ready for that next part of your life that will come in your 40s. So love yourself, give yourself a chance, be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, and just enjoy it.
That's the perfect
Yes.
part. Love
Be
yourself,
nice to
ladies.
yourself.
See you next episode on Unbalanced Moms. Bye.